All right, good afternoon, traders. Welcome back. Thanks for joining today's guest speaker webinar. As always, my name is Keith, here with Shark Indicators. We've been in the Ninja Trader ecosystem since 2011, providing tools like BloodHound and Blackbird that help traders be more productive and in control of their own trade systems. We're always looking for ways to add to the trader's toolkit, and this guest speaker webinar is a big part of that mission. Before I pass it off, let's take a quick look at the risk disclosure. Futures, foreign currency, and options trading contain substantial risk and is not for every investor. Also, please note that ideas expressed by our guest speakers are theirs alone, and their services and trading concepts are not necessarily endorsed by Shark Indicators. Please do your due diligence before doing business with anyone. Anthony holds a master's degree of science in computer engineering from New York University Tandon School of Engineering. He is a staff software engineer at Northrop Grumman, where his position of lead software engineer for the program requires him to design, develop, test, and integrate hardware and software algorithms for the missile defense mission. He believes engineering should be a passion first, hobby second, and job third. I agree. With this mentality, he has brought the LogikAi algorithm to life. So with that, Anthony, you can unmute and share your screen. We'll get started.
All right. Hey, everyone. So just to start, as Keith mentioned, I've been working as a software engineer for quite a while now. I have been developing trading tools. Particularly, I was working mostly in strategies, probably for 25 years. Working on them just for myself as a passion, very difficult game to conquer. And then over time, I started up, I think in 2011, I started up Pure Logic Trading and started developing more professionally for clients, same situation, strategies and indicators. And all of that led me to where I am today and to the particular tool that I'm going to talk about that I created and use for myself in all of my automated strategies. AI is a buzzword. It is machine learning. It is a very powerful tool, as I'm sure everybody has seen utilizing it, whether it be large language models or for pattern recognition or for image classification. The list goes on and on and on. And it's just going to get better and better and better over the next couple of years and such a high rate. So what I have here is just a relatively short slide deck. I don't have any charts to talk about or anything like that, but I will show you what the tool is and how it can be used potentially in your trading and with BloodHound. It's been a little while since I've used PowerPoint on this machine, so bear with me. So first things first, and this is what led me to even create this, with any system you have, whether it be, let's just talk simplicity, moving average crossover, taking volume spikes, breakouts, whatever. The market's always changing, right? And one system that works today won't work tomorrow. And that's especially true when you have a choppy day and your system trades a trend following system. Or if you're trying to capture trends and the market's cycling horizontally and beating you up on both sides, up and down, and every single trade is a loser. So one thing that I was thinking about as I've been faced with this problem is there's so much data out there. You have so many days where there's days that are trending, cycling, not moving at all. News comes out, blows the market apart. So there's got to be a way to compile all this data into something that has basically seen, whether it be over the past couple of months, past couple of years, on a day-to-day, intraday, certain times of the day, et cetera, what the market looks like when your system is failing. So again, if you have a trending system and it's getting beat up on cycling days, well, what does the market look like during those days? And how can you identify that via indicators, via market structure, et cetera, compile all that data and shove it into the computer to be able to make decisions, better decisions for you without you having to basically have a data overload by looking at everything, which we can't do. So that led me to creating this product, right? And the idea behind it was you had to have confidence in your trading signals. Yes, everybody can look at a chart and you could say, oh, well, I wouldn't have taken this trade because of X, Y, or Z. But you have hindsight bias and you're looking to the right of the chart at the future. And it's easy to say I wouldn't take those trades or I wouldn't do this or do that because your eye naturally looks for things that are good and your brain naturally avoids things that are bad, right? So what I've created with LogikAi is an a framework and a model that you basically feed in all of your trades, historical trades. So this requires having historical trades that it can learn from, feeds in all of your historical trades, identifies when a trade is taken from the beginning to the end, it captures a huge amount of data around when those trades take place and labels them winners or losers, right? And so you take a huge amount of data from various indicators across the board, shove them into this system, have the model trained, knowing whether it's a winner or loser, and basically the AI module is able to look at market conditions when when your trading system worked, and look at market conditions when it didn't work, and find patterns where things are the same or different under those particular conditions. Okay. And by classifying winning versus losing trades and having a snapshot of the market every time you have a winner and a snapshot of the market every time you have a loser and separating them, you can assign what I have here in green, a probability of success, right? And this is all science. This isn't any voodoo or anything like that. You have a probability that the trade is going to be a winner prior to taking the trade. And that is by comparing snapshots of winning trades and losing trades for all different market measurements across the board, right? And so with that, you can go ahead and determine whether or not you want to take a trade. If the probability of a signal that's popped up right now is 60%, do you want to take it? Maybe. Depends on your risk to reward ratio, depends on on how you're handling your money management, right? Or maybe you want to wait for it to be 90% to take the trade. So you could be a go, no go type of signal. Or you can say, if based on the model, I have a 90% chance of this being a winning trade, I want to double up. Maybe I want to trade more contracts in this situation. There's many different ways you can handle the decision-making process when you know the probability that trade is going to be a winner, right? So with that, a little bit of a deep dive into how it all works, right? I mentioned earlier that the AI module is basically fed a ton of data, right? So data can be categorized. I have a little bit of a breakdown here of some of it: trend versus bias, trend and bias, momentum, volatility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of those are you can measure those with just various indicators, right? Could be typical simple things like an RSI, a moving average, volume, all the basic stuff. And the simpler your indicators are, so to speak, the better, because the more you complicate things, the less likely you are to succeed, right? So all of these, there's a slew of indicators. I call them features because that's what you call it in data science. All these indicators or features are all snapshots are taken throughout the day. They're all categorized and put into a large database. They're all scaled because you can't compare volume, especially on like currencies, of being hundreds of thousands on a bar versus an RSI being between 0 and 100, or percent change or whatever. So they're all scaled, they're all normalized, right? So the indicators, you'd have raw market data, you place indicators on that, you take snapshots across all different time frames of all those indicators, you scale them all so they can be compared with one another, and then you shove them into the AI model, right? So they always say if you have garbage in, garbage out, so this is where you're taking garbage, cleaning it up and making it suitable for AI, and then putting it into your AI model, right? And this is done across from, I say down at the bottom how it's combined. You have lower time frame, middle time frame, upper time frame, or low period for some sort of measurement, whether it be an RSI or moving average, middle period, and and short period, right? So you're getting different measurements at different variations, and you're basically just essentially mapping out the market in ways to read it. And all this stuff gets shoved into the module, right? One of the things that happens once all that data is put in is you get a lot of redundancy, you get a lot of stability issues, and so you basically you have to correct all those things. So remove highly correlated inputs is the easiest to think about. If you have um, two moving averages, let's just say that basically move in the exact same fashion. Let's say one is an HMA on a low on a with a very low period, and another one's an EMA with a high period. But let's say they both basically move the same way because of the fact that you have two different periods and you're looking at them. Um, there's no point in shoving both into the model, so you get rid of one. And the more stuff you put into the model, the more stuff that's actually gets utilized at the end of the day. Um, the less likely the model's stable. So you go through all these processes where you take all this huge amount of data, you scale it all to be utilized on the same playing field within the model, and then you remove duplicates or highly correlated things. So now you're starting to pluck out all the things that don't matter. And then you get a handful of features or indicators or measurements of the market that matter most based on the way your signals are being taken, right? So it's all very specific to your trading style or a particular method of trading in general. Once all that goes in, um, the trading model is overlaid on top of all of these measurements or features or indicators, and the system works to take winning trades and losing trades and push them as far apart from one another as possible. So you can basically find a good predictor of whether or not a trade's going to be a winner versus a loser before you take the trade. So it's trained on all this historical data of your trading system. So then when another trade comes up, it can look at its model, which is this snapshot, this database of winning trades versus losing trades, and it can assign a probability to whether or not that trade is going to be a winner or a loser based on what it's seen in the past for winning and losing trades, right? So the output of all of this, again, is a probability of success, right? So with that, you can pick this probability. It's basically a sliding scale between 0 and 100. 100% meaning the trade has to be 100% probable that it's going to be a winner to take it. 50% being 50% or better, right? So you can, as you go lower in this threshold that you set, you are going to get more trades and more likely to get more losing trades in the mix. But as you go higher, you have a little bit of a handoff here. As you go higher, you're going to get less trades, higher quality trades, but in doing so, you might filter out some of your good trades also. So it's a balancing act, right? One of the things that I figured out with this, because how do you figure out where to grab that threshold? You can calculate a balanced cutoff where it's basically the optimal middle ground where the probabilities make the most sense for your trading style and decisions. That is an output as well. When you train the model on a chart, which is on all of your trades, one of your outputs is going to be how well the model distinguishes winning from losing, and how well, and I don't have this in this slide, but how well the model distinguishes a winning trade from a losing trade, and then what a good balanced cutoff could be. But you can take that and choose whatever you want in terms of a cutoff. And you can utilize that information in any way you want. Like I said earlier, go, no go versus I'm always going to trade, but I will double up or triple up my number of contracts if my probability is high enough, right? So that's where this falls in. Okay, so this is just a before and after the model is introduced, right? So on this test, I grabbed a 15 range ES chart. I trained it with 75 days of data, and then I tested it on 75 days of data forward with a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 1.5, right? And on your left side, I don't know how big this is on your screens, but on the left side, we had 150 trades. It's right in front of me and I can't read it. 150 trades and the percent profitable was 41%, right? And you look up at the top, and I like to look at profit factor, And Sharpe ratio is like pretty good identifiers as to whether or not a system is a strong system and a safe system versus not. So before any modeling or anything was done, you have uh, your profit factor is 1.06. Your probability of win is 41%, and you have 150 trades. Okay, so after 75 days, you net profit was $687, which is probably almost entirely eaten up by commissions on 150 trades. Right. So then, after you go through this training, identifying, classifying, and coming up with that probability of win, you have the right side, which is the output over the same trades. And I don't remember what the balanced cutoff was for this, but it was whatever the machine automatically gave me. But your your profit factor went from 1.06 to 2.16, so it more than doubled. Your percent profitable jumped up nearly 20%. That's like 17%. And your number of trades dropped. So from 150 trades, you took 53 trades. So this filtered out 2/3 of your trades. It looks like the majority of them were bad. Now, at the end of the day, the gross profit also cut in half, but your total net profit jumped up from 687 to 3,125. So the trade-off here is, in this case, you took a lot less trades, 2/3 less, right? And you made more money. So now if you're trading 2/3 less, that means that that money's not locked up and you can go and use it elsewhere on another system or another symbol or whatever. Your risk is less as well because you're less time in the market and you're paying less commissions, right? So to me, that's a win-win. When you, in the format that this is in now, and I didn't put a slide together for this, but the format that this is in now is basically you load up a strategy on a chart, you set your parameters, you do a back test with the training module enabled, and then it kicks out an output that tells you how well the model is performing, which is between 0 and 100, and then what your cutoff should be. You save off the model, and then you go ahead and you utilize that. And then this would be the output. Let's see. Okay, so for integration with BloodHound, in order to utilize the model in general, you have to have trades, right? So you have to have trades that can train the system to identify market conditions around winning and losing trades and how to filter them out. So over the past 5-6 years, I've created a base framework that I call the Logic Strategy Core. And that framework is a system of common features that traders will use, right? So in here, I just have time of day filtering, which is up at the top. Then I have day of week filtering. Then I have position management, which I designed to replicate what NinjaTrader uses for ATMs on the chart trader. So you could have up to three separate entries or 3 separate quantities. You can have 3 targets. You can utilize 2 targets with 3 quantities. You can have break even. You can have a trail. It gives you basically the same functionality that comes inherent in NinjaTrader with the ATM. And then I have at the bottom just session goal management or daily goal management. If you wanted to stop trading at the end of the day after you made or lost X amount of dollars, you would disable it. And so this is important here because we're talking about integrating this LogikAi module into BloodHound. BloodHound allows you to create your signals. So you can create your entry signals, you can create your exit signals. And that's what you utilize, majority of that, what I've seen, you utilize BloodHound for. So the integration with LogikAi and BloodHound here is that whatever templates you make with BloodHound for signals, for long and short, you can pop right into this framework and automate those signals to run a back test to generate your model and to utilize this to filter out trades and to make decisions on whether or not you want to take a trade. addition to having an automated trading aspect of this, because again, you need that in order to train the model, you can also take a model that's been trained from the LogikAi, Logic Strategy Core and train the model. It gets saved to a file, and I have another indicator that will pull in the BloodHound template for signals. And rather than take or not take a trade, it will put out the probability. When a signal is created, it will put the probability on the chart, and you can go ahead and utilize that number to make a decision as to whether or not you want to take the trade. So all of those things together gives you a little more control, or I'd like to say a lot more control of whether or not you want to go ahead and take a trade. Let's see what else I got. That's really the brunt of it. Again, the whole concept here is if you could train the computer to be able to identify whether or not a trade is going to be a winner versus a loser with a probability assigned to it before you pull the trigger to make that trade. And it's all just data science and manipulating data and indicators in an intelligent way to make the computer and the different scientific methods operate well for you to go ahead and make the decision. All right. So here I just have my typical spiel. What it includes. I'm going to, this is, like I said, this is something that I use for myself. As I update it and make more enhancements and learn more and come up with different ideas of different indicators to utilize, to different features that could be used that might help, whether you're trading breakouts, whether you're swing trading, whether you're trading cycles, or just jumping on trends. There's always going to be some other things that could be done inside of the module to read market data around it, to enhance it. And so as I make those ongoing enhancements, that's all included in everything you would get today. So that's really it. I'm going to have this up on my site tonight. I have a discount code there as well. I don't know if it's case sensitive or not. Keith asked me a good question earlier if it was case sensitive. Probably not, but if you have any problems, everybody, I see a couple names in this this list here, people that names that I know. So just email me. Let me know any questions. You want to talk about anything? You want to discuss anything? This could also be utilized if you have a custom strategy already made, whether it be made by me, whether it be made by another developer. As long as you have strategy code, then you can absolutely, I can go ahead and integrate this into the Logic Strategy Core, or just integrate it into your strategy and you can utilize it as well. I see one question that just popped up. I don't have, on the machine that I'm doing this presentation with, I just have the slide deck. I don't have the ability to show it, but essentially what it is if you had a BloodHound template that gives you a signal to go long or short, the strategy would take that signal, take that trade, and it would give you a probability behind whether or not it would be a winner or a loser. I have one client has been utilizing this more recently, and as far as I know, everything's working out fantastically. I have a handful of clients also utilizing this in their custom strategies, trading it live, and it's also helping them from the feedback I've received. So yeah, that's what I got, Keith. I don't know if there's any, I didn't see any question and answer pop-ups. I know I did. Oh, I did. There is one. Can you explain the advantages of LogikAi? Okay, so I'm going to answer this live. This is all a little new to me, guys. Sorry. So the strategy optimizer will help you go and find specific parameters for your particular strategy, whether or not that means go find the best target to use, go find the best stop loss to use. What's the best period for this indicator to use if you're, doing a moving average crossover? I keep defaulting to that moving average crossover because it's just simple to think about, right? So the NinjaTrader optimizer will go and brute force, run over data, and find the best parameters to use for that type of strategy. Now, that's only going to utilize what you have coded in the strategy, your filters, everything else like that, whatever you could think of, whatever you want to put in there. If you add an ADX and say it has to be above some threshold, whatever, volume has to be higher than whatever, time of day, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all hard coded, coded into your strategy parameters that you're going to use. You go and you find the best parameters for all of that, right? And you're limited to just what you have coded in your strategy. What the LogikAi has above and beyond that is it takes about 50 different indicators across 10 different time frames for the symbol, and it basically measures all of that and looks at winning and losing trades and separates winning and losing trades and giving you gives the probability of whether or not it's going to be a winner or a loser, right? So ideally, what you should do is you have a strategy that you create, you optimize it, you work with it out of sample to make sure that you're not just curve fitting the best parameters for the strategy itself in the optimizer, because that's really what you're doing is you're finding the best parameters. And then you're going and utilizing, you take that best output, and then you can go and train that with LogikAi and let that go ahead and give you the percentage of win versus loss and set up your thresholds, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. I'm just going to go. I don't know. I hope that answered your question, Michael. But the main advantage is that you are not limited to just what you have coded, and you're not limited to a single time frame. You could also have multiple time frames coded, right? But with this, you are going to have the ability to just invoke all sorts of different measurements and just it's a ton of data. And then you're able to just concisely filter out the ones that matter for your type of trading, and then take those outputs and utilize them to make trading decisions. I see another question. How long does it take to analyze each sample? So the algorithm itself, as you go and you do a back test, it categorizes and it compiles all the different indicators that are in the module, the LogikAI module now. It's the time that it takes to do all of that is, I'm going to say it's just a few seconds longer than however long it takes for the back test to take place in NinjaTrader. And then the actual training of the module, the training of the model, excuse me, it takes about, well, it really depends on how much data you have, how many days back you're running over. And you know, with all of this, just to say, data is king. So if you have 10 trades and you're trying to train a model, that's not going to cut it. You're going to want to have, the more trades, the better, but 100+ trades. This way you get a good wide sample of different types of trades, whether the market's chopping, trending, news events, this and that, whatever it might be. So the more data you have, the better. And that's just like a fact of everything with science and trading is the more data you have, the better. Data is king. When you go ahead and you trade, once you go ahead and you want to train a model, it generally takes 20 to 30 seconds. It doesn't take long to separate them. I've optimized all of the math and everything behind the training part of it. And one way that it's really fast is the feature selection. I had a couple of slides back. Let me just see if I can just jump to that. Yeah, so this is redundancy pruning, stability checks, leakage checks, standardization. By the big thing here is the redundancy pruning. So if you have, let's say there's 500 different types of measurements across different time frames, you're not shoving all of 500 of those in there. It's categorizing and it's scoring the ones that it finds to be the most correlated and separated with your trading method, and it's dropping all the other ones on the floor. So it might go ahead and take the top 10. And the more that you shove into the training module, the longer it's going to take to train. Something that, just an idea now as I get these questions, I can always give a setting that allows you to set the minimum and maximum number of um, features that you're going to put into the model. But the more you put in, the longer it's going to take. I'm using 10 as a default now. I found that to be a good number. And it takes on, if I'm doing about 90 days to 120 days of data, it takes about 20 to 30 seconds to do it. So it doesn't take very long. And then, Mike, can you select which indicators, for example, third-party indicators? So for the actual training of it, you cannot select the indicators that are being shoved into it. That's something else that I can see if I could figure out how to do, if it's even possible with NinjaTrader. But I will say that the measurements that I'm taking, it is a diverse range of different indicators and measurements. It's not just like taking the volume or seeing if the volume's higher than it normally is at this time. There's some techniques you do in data science where you take indicators that are measuring different things and you simply just multiply them together and they start to scale with one another and you have another feature just like that. So this is currently you cannot go and put just other third-party indicators into it, but that is something that if I can figure out a way to make the interface allow that to be done, that is a good idea of something I can add to it. Mike, again, the answer to your other question, it takes it from the analyzer. So it can do either. No, so right now it has to be from the analyzer. So when you go and you do a back test, it will take the data in that back test, and what happens is there's a button that appears at the top of the chart that you hit train, and it will go ahead and it will train the model. I do all my strategy testing directly on a NinjaTrader chart simply because I like to be able to have more graphics on everything, and a bigger pane to work in and to look at things. But right now, if you run it through if you're doing a replay, it doesn't train that way. It trains just with historical back tests. The strategy framework that I have, that logic strategy core, that framework, you can set what you want your data granularity to be. So if you want to have tick by tick order fills, that's something that I think NinjaTrader 8 added. NinjaTrader 7 didn't have it like that. But if you want it to be very granular and fill long trades using the ask and short trades using the bid, so you can incorporate the spread into it, you can do all that stuff directly within, so your back tests are as accurate as they can be. So I did all that back in the day because I was testing trading on various Renko charts where the open was not where the prior bar close was. And if anybody remembers, you were a millionaire every time you did a back test on a Renko chart if your strategy was not coded to actually accurately portray what the market is doing. That was a little gotcha. It happened to me a couple times. I thought I was home free and never going to work again, and that was wrong. Let's see. I think I have, oh, there's more. When the probability of trade prints, does it print with the BloodHound signal live? Can Blackbird use the probability? So right now for BloodHound, for the indicator portion, it will plot the probability when the signal is generated on the chart. For Blackbird, I have to work with Jeremy a bit to see if there is a way to integrate the two. Blackbird, by definition, doesn't have the ability to do back tests, but what you could do is if Blackbird's just loading a BloodHound template, right? So you could, as long as you use the strategy framework, the logic strategy core, to do a back test to get trades with whatever your risk to reward parameters are, your target and your stop. You go and you do a back test, you like the results, you train the model. You could take that trained model and use it in a BloodHound indicator that will plot the same signals that Blackbird's going to use, right? And it will plot the probability right then and there. So I guess you could use it with Blackbird. It's just a little bit of this is a couple steps involved. It's not like a direct drop in right there. You'd have to train it, then you'd have to use the indicator to throw that probability on the chart.
Now, when you say Blackbird can't do backtest, I'm assuming you're talking about can't do backtest of the type that your thing does. Blackbird uses Ninja Strategy Analyzer to run its backtests.
So I stand corrected. I
Okay,
did
just
not
double
know they
checking.
were
I wasn't
using.
sure if we were on the
No,
same
thank
page.
you. I didn't realize that so that might, I don't know if that changed or not. I always thought that it was real time only. And if that's not the case, um,
Yeah, the really
then
cool thing about it, so our stuff runs, so Blackbird is a strategy component. So, and
Mhm.
strategies can run in the strategy analyzer. Now that has all the same benefits and drawbacks of the strategy analyzer. But yeah, it runs well. But definitely get with Jeremy. I know you and he have a good relationship, and you've sort of been in our ecosystem for a while. You do custom programming for people, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
how Jeremy and I had even met. I don't know, when he first created BloodHound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if you're already going to be working with him, double check on the capabilities that fit well for your stuff. It seems like there could be a pretty good cohesion there
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Blackbird.
And that all these questions, that's the beauty of it all. They all come together and come up with new ideas and more ideas, put things to integrate things, 100%. Um, Michael, I don't have a demo period now. That's something I'll consider in the future, but I've always avoided um, certain demo times because I've found that um, so there's just multiple reasons why it just becomes more of a difficulty um, and a support issue. I'm a one-man show over here, so I don't have the bandwidth that a lot of other companies have to do that type of stuff. Um, yeah, I think I've gone through everything that I have. I don't know if anybody else, what am I doing here? Anybody else has any questions? You think of anything after the fact? Anything you want to talk about? Like I said, on this last page.
Michael appreciated you coming despite what I had described
Oh,
in
I
the
saw
previous
that.
webinar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently there is there is a difference between the look of poison ivy if it is a baby leaf versus an adult or a mature leaf. The immature or the young ones have jagged edges, and the mature ones are rounded. And I always looked for rounded ones, so I just plucked a piece out of an area on my house, not realizing that it was poison ivy. So yeah, that's this is about the fourth time this year, but um, it is the first time that I've learned about that, and I will tell you, I will never forget that again. I remember pulling it out and be like, ah, this is fine. This is not poison ivy. Yep, nope, I was wrong. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and shoot me an email anytime. Um,
And it does look like Michael asked about your documentation or training. How can people kind of learn as if they buy your stuff, how can they make the most of it?
Sure. So I have documentation on how to use the strategy framework. I have documentation on how to use the AI module and what to look for and how to understand the outputs of it. And I am always around for email conversations and phone calls if necessary. If For phone calls, it's just a little bit of scheduling that we just have to do to make sure it's a good time for both of us. Um, but over the years, I've tried to make things as easy to use and simplistic to use as possible. I like, the whole methodology behind why the iPhone is so popular is because anybody, including my grandmother, could use it type of thing. So I try to make everything as easy to use, and that's also true just for me as well, because even though I created these things, the more complicated things are, the less likely they are to work, consistently. And the harder, more difficult of a time you have trying to even utilize it, trying to understand what inputs are, what combination of things you should be doing, this and that, it just gets out of hand. So everything to me is pretty straightforward. But like I said, I have um, documentation for both. Um, I will probably put together some videos very soon as well in the next couple days that go over things. And I am an email away at any time of the day. I prefer and like emails simply because it's a record of questions that you or I or anybody can always go back to and reference. Never, you have a phone call and then, oh, you could look back, you try to think back to what was said or what was told or this, it's just everything scribed down in an email is lasts much longer to me. And it's always good to be able to just pull it up and reference it whenever you want. So I'm available whenever.
Very cool. Vincent is asking, are there any components for suggested RR depending on signal probability?
So I haven't broken it down so right. So that really depends on, I don't have any components to break it down or to give you a different risk to reward ratio, if that's what you're asking, based on probability. The way that I had gone around that to make it a little less complicated is just to say, if you're above the balance threshold, take the trade. If you're above the balance threshold by 10%, double down. If you're above it by 20%, and it all depends on where that balance threshold is, enter with 3 contracts instead of 2. And I like to just, keep simple, stay everything starts at 1. So the way that I've always looking at that is just scaling differently based on that balance threshold and based on your risk to reward. If you're finding that, and it all depends on how well the model fits your trading system. Um, I've seen some trading systems where the output of the model is it's the model itself is 90% accurate in separating winning from losing trades. That's a big deal. That is a phenomenal model, right? And then I've had systems where it's 54%. And I put an output on the top of the chart that says it gives you a little blurb about the power of the model, and it will say the model is slightly better than a coin toss. So and that's just, it really just depends on how random your trading system is and how concise it is as well. So it's just really like it's a big balancing act. But all that comes out when you train the model. It tells you how well it's going to be at separating winning from losing, and this can give you that balance threshold. And from that, if your model is really good at deciphering winning from losing, you can, in my opinion, I would be more aggressive on how I scale my position based on the probability that comes out of it. So I hope that answers your question, Benson.
And
Just trying to
scroll
look
down
through some of
on
these things.
Q&A there. Got one more there.
Oh, there you go. Do you have time to buy credit for AI? Oh, no, you don't have to. No. So this isn't like a cloud-based anything. This is resident. If I'm understanding your question right, Michael, this is it's not like you're buying time for it to be chomping at data. This is a module that will be resident on your machine the only time you have to buy is your own CPU time, which you have. So that you're not buying anything else. If that's your question, I think that's what you're asking when you say, do you have time? Do you have to buy credit for AI? Right. Nope. Yep. Not like ChatGPT.
So is it closer to being more like a really advanced algorithm in the traditional sense?
Yes. Right.
Okay.
And just the case in point here with all of that, like I said before, AI is a beautiful buzzword that makes it makes everything feel and sound like the computer's doing the thinking for you. All AI is just machine learning, and AI is machine learning at multiple layers where you have multiple steps in the thought process or the process of data processing and how essentially neurons are connected. That's why it's, different neural networks. They're modeling the brain and how your nodes in your head basically connect to other nodes and how those connections are made and, how decision making is done based on weighting factors at each node and stuff like that. So um, I say AI, all AI is really machine learning, ML. Um, but yeah, no, there's no credit purchase here, not with any of this stuff.
Very cool. We'll give it a little bit more time just in case anybody has more questions. But
Sure.
yeah, this looks really promising, especially given the price to what appears to be pretty dang promising.
Mm.
That's looking really promising. So I'm gonna have to deep dive on this just personally. Sounds like there's a couple of people in here, a few that are going to be doing the same. So really cool. And yeah, you've definitely proven yourself as. How long have you been doing custom programming for just like indicators and strategies for people?
Um, so I started Pure Logic trading in 2011, and before that, I think about 5 years before that, I was doing it just on my own, trying to conquer the markets, as I like to say. Um, Fun fact, the where I say I have my day job right at Northrop Grumman, my former boss, her brother was the private pilot for Jim Simons. And if anybody knows that name, he was the starter of Renaissance Technologies. He passed away not too long ago. A multi-billionaire, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world. And what really started getting me into this area of just trading and utilizing my software background for it was a couple conversations I just had with just heard about this guy. And Jim Simons was also the head of the math department at SUNY Stony Brook, which is where I went to get my undergrad. So a lot of different things came together and kind of pointed me in this direction, whether physically or not. And that's kind of what brought me here.
Really, really cool. Yeah, it takes quite a big background to do anything really impressive with NinjaTrader or trading in general if you really want to take it seriously as a lifelong craft. And it seems like you have, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, really cool. All right. Well, it looks like everybody's got their questions answered. Reach out. I put in the link to your website in chat to everybody. Rain says wait, so don't worry, Rain. We'll wait for your question to come in. But we put in a link to your website. If anybody wants to reach out to Anthony, I'm sure at least a few of you definitely will be like, no, I want to learn everything I can about this. It'll be good. So while we wait for Rain, I will mention, so we do have two presentations tomorrow. The first one at noon Eastern is actually I'm not sure if he's the founder or if he's just a bigwig in Quant VPS. So as many of you know, we recently launched a partnership with Quant VPS because there's a lot of traders who benefit from it for like 4 or 5 different reasons. VPSs are popular among traders, and so we now offer a VPS service. And the guy Ryan over there, he's going to be coming in talking about the benefits of VPSs just in general for traders. And so I'm looking forward to hearing that directly from the guy that I've been working with for a while, just on the back end. So that'll be fun. And then again, Friday we've got SharkIndicators giving a presentation as well. So okay, go ahead. Do you see in chat there, Anthony? Got a few messages.
Yep. Right. So there will be it will be Logic Strategy Core with the LogikAi module built in with the BloodHound, with the ability for BloodHound templates to be utilized within it. So it'll be a separate product on my website that you'll be able to grab. That answers the question. It'll be one link and everything will come in and it will all make sense. I have documentation that describes everything. And again, email, whatever you want to ask, whatever you want to know, all that good stuff.
Very cool. All right. Thanks for coming, Anthony, and thanks for coming, everybody. We will see you tomorrow at noon Eastern. Cheers.
All right. Very good. Thanks, guys.